All right, today we're jumping into a book that honestly completely shook up the whole conversation around work, wealth, and life. We're talking about Tim Ferriss's game-changing bestseller, The 4-Hour Workweek.
Right out of the gate, the book hits you with this really powerful question. It challenges the one thing we're all taught to do, climb the corporate ladder. But it asks, what if that whole game is a trap? This one question, right here, is the key that unlocks the entire philosophy of the book.
Okay, first things first, let's talk about that title. It's brilliant marketing for sure, but the book isn't literally about clocking in for just 4 hours a week. Think of it more as a metaphor. The real goal, the true mission behind Ferriss's work, is all about designing a life where you, not your boss, not your job, are in complete control of your most valuable resource, your time.
So here's how we're going to break it all down. First, we'll look at the problem with the typical 9-to-5. Then we'll meet this group called The New Rich and walk through the book's playbook, the deal framework. After that, we'll get practical on how you can make this stuff work for you, think about what it means for the next generation, and finally look at the book's lasting impact. Okay, so let's dig into the big problem Ferriss is trying to solve. He calls it the deferred life plan. And honestly, it's the default script most of us are handed. Sacrifice your youth, work your tail off for decades, and then, maybe, you get to enjoy your freedom when you're old.
And this slide lays it out perfectly, right? The traditional path is totally linear. Work, retire, then live. Ferriss just flips that whole thing on its head. His path starts with the question, what kind of life do you actually want to live? Then the challenge is to build an income that supports that lifestyle right now, not in some far-off future. It's a huge shift from just earning a living to actually designing a life.
Now, to live this new way, you kind of need a whole new mindset. And that brings us to one of the book's most famous ideas, the new rich. This has nothing to do with being a millionaire or a billionaire. It's about completely redefining what it even means to be wealthy.
So who are these new rich people? Well, they're the ones who figured out how to decouple their wealth from the hours they put in. They use money as a tool, not to just buy more stuff, but to buy freedom and experiences in the present. It's about having the currency of options, not just the currency of cash.
This really gets to the heart of their value system. For the new rich, the ultimate luxuries aren't fancy cars and giant houses. The real luxuries are time, mobility, and incredible experiences. Their goal isn't to sit on a beach and do nothing. It's to have the freedom, the autonomy, to choose what they work on, when they do it, and from wherever in the world they want.
All right, so the philosophy is cool and all, but how do you actually do it? This is where Ferriss gets super practical with a 4-step blueprint for this lifestyle redesign. He calls it the DEAL framework.
DEAL is an acronym, pretty straightforward. It guides you through the whole process. D for definition, E for elimination, A for automation, and finally, L for liberation. Each one of these is a crucial building block.
The first step, definition, kicks off with this really deep question. Ferriss argues that most of us are chasing goals we don't even really want. We think we want a bigger salary, but what we really want is the security or freedom we think that money will buy. By defining your perfect lifestyle first, you can figure out the actual dollar amount you need to make it happen, and it's usually a lot less than you'd imagine. Next up, elimination. And this is all about being ruthless with your time. Ferriss is a huge fan of the Pareto principle. You know, the 80-20 rule? It basically says 80% of your results come from just 20% of your work. The key here is to find that critical 20%, focus all your energy there, and just get rid of the rest. We're talking about all those pointless meetings, the constant email checking, anything that just keeps you busy without actually moving the needle.
Okay, step 3, automation. This is the magic ingredient, right? It's where you build systems that generate income without you having to be there trading your time for it. Think of an e-commerce store that ships orders automatically, or an online course that people can buy while you're literally sleeping. The goal isn't to build some giant empire. It's to create what he calls a muse, a low-maintenance business that just funds your ideal lifestyle.
And finally, liberation. This is the big payoff. This is the whole point. Once your income is automated, you're not physically tied to any one place. This is what makes the whole digital nomad lifestyle possible. And it introduces the idea of mini retirements, taking these long 1 to 6 month breaks throughout your life to travel or learn a new skill, instead of saving all the fun for when you're 65. So that DEAL framework is awesome, but let's be real, it can also feel a little intense. So let's switch gears and talk about how you can start putting this stuff into practice in your own life, even if it's just in small ways.
This is probably the biggest question people have after they close the book. They're all fired up, they see the vision, but it's like, okay, what's the very first thing I do? Well, the key is to just start small. Start by auditing your time and exploring some new ways to make money.
The main idea here is to slowly, piece by piece, move your income away from just pure labor. This table gives you a great starting point of ideas. It could be something as simple as investing in dividend stocks, or as big as creating your own online course. The goal is just to start building assets that work for you.
You know, one of the most interesting things to think about is how all these ideas could totally change how we teach our kids about work and money. I mean, we're raising them in a world where the old rulebook just doesn't apply anymore.
Think about the advice we all got, right? For generations, this was the playbook. It was the formula for a secure middle-class life. Go to school, get a safe job, climb that ladder nice and slow. It was a path of compliance. But the new advice, the stuff inspired by books like this one, man, it's a completely different game. It's not about finding your slot in someone else's system. It's about learning how to build the system yourself. It's about entrepreneurship, financial literacy, and understanding that your time is often way more valuable than your money.
So, let's wrap this up. Why is this book still so huge and, honestly, so controversial all these years later? To get that, we need to look at both the valid criticisms and its real, lasting legacy.
And look, we have to be balanced here. Critics are right when they point out that working just 4 hours a week is pretty much impossible for a lot of people. They're also right that building an automated business is anything but automated at the start. It takes a ton of upfront work. And like we said, the title is more of a North Star than a literal how-to guide.
But that's not the point. The book's real power, its lasting legacy, isn't some magic one-size-fits-all formula. It's that it completely changed the questions we ask ourselves. It gave millions of people permission to look at the default path and say, wait a minute, and to start asking not, how do I make more money, but how can I design a better life? And that's really what I want to leave you with. Take a second and think about this for your own situation. Are you squeezing your life into the little gaps left over by your job? Or are you building a career and an income that serve the life you actually want to live? The answer to that question, well, that might be the most important takeaway of all.